So becoming a self-made millionaire, when I started off in 1980 studying this subject, there were about 5,000 self-made millionaires in America. Today there's more than 30,000. And the number is increasing about 1 every 8 minutes. And 87% of self-made millionaires are self-made, and they come from this type of business. So they say if you take 100 people at graduation from college or graduation from high school, one of those people will become wealthy in the course of their lifetime. 3 will become well off. 15 will have a good deal of money set aside, and 80% will be working, dead or broke at the end of their careers at the age of 65. So when I was in my 30s, I did not graduate from high school. I finished in the half of the class that made the top half possible. They say everybody's good for something, even if it's to be a bad example. And I was a bad example. They used to say, if you don't watch out, you'll end up like Tracy. If you don't watch out, you'll end up like Brian Tracy. And that would scare people into doing their homework. Right? And so I left school in the 12th grade. I got a leaving certificate, not a diploma, a leaving certificate, and it says goodbye. That's one of those little emojis waving goodbye. And so my first job was washing dishes in the back of a small hotel for $1.12 an hour. I remember when I got promoted to $1.14 an hour, that was a major event in my life. And for years, I worked in laboring jobs, and I washed cars. I washed dishes until I lost that job, and then I washed cars until I lost that job, and then I washed floors for a janitorial service until I washed that job. And when you're young, losing is another word for involuntary career redeployment. That's where you get a chance to explore new jobs unexpectedly. Today, they give you 2 weeks' notice. In those days, they give you about 2 minutes notice. We won't need your services anymore. Here's your check. There's the door. Goodbye. And so I would go from place to place and worked, and I lived in my car, and I did all kinds of things. But I always had this fantasy, undeserved by the way, that I was going to become wealthy someday until I had this opportunity to speak. And as I began to study the subject, I learned some wonderful things that they're so simple, it means that everybody can become wealthy. What you need is a dependable source of cash flow. That's really important. And LifeVantage is a wonderful source of cash flow, because all you have to do is just pump the well, and the cash flow just pours down. Just keep filling the buckets, And this company has only one aim in life, is to help you fill the well, is to pump the pump and to have the cash flow. Then the question is, what do you do with the cash flow? And that's a whole nother thing. So I'm not going to talk to you about that, but what I found was that there were 21 secrets. And so I recorded these and I gave them as talks and so on. Everybody loves the subject of becoming wealthy. And people started to come back to me after as little as a year and say, because of your talk, I'm wealthy now. I'm a millionaire now. And they would come back and their faces were shining, and sometimes they had tears in their eyes. Because I struggled and struggled and struggled. 1 year after I listened to your talk and began to practice those things, I became wealthy. Here's a couple of ideas, and then I'm going to give you 7 keys to becoming an outstanding leader in this industry and to becoming one of the highest paid people in our society and becoming wealthy. And their wonderful thing is they're not complicated. I'm not asking you to learn rocket science or anything. All you have to do is do simple things. What they found in the first major studies of thousands of self-made millionaires, they said, well, what is your secret? What did you do differently? And they all said something similar. All the self-made. By the way, we now have 2,595 billionaires in the world today. And we didn't have billionaires when I started off studying. Maybe had J. Paul Getty, the oil billionaire, but there weren't very many billionaires. Now there's 2,500. And 87% of them, according to Forbes, are self-made. These are people who started with nothing. Many of them were immigrants. They came to this country with nothing, and they started working, and they started doing certain things in a certain way, which we'll talk about, and they became, first of all, millionaires. Here's a one-liner for you, because many of you are already millionaires, is that the first million is hard, but the second million is inevitable. And when I learned that, and of course the reason for that is this, it's not, as Jim Rohn used to say, he said, it's not becoming a millionaire that's important, it's the person that you must become in order to become a millionaire. Yeah. You have to become a completely different person. You have to develop character beyond 99% of the people in the world. You have to develop honesty and discipline and quality relationships and the willingness and the ability to work and set priorities and all kinds of stuff. Because without that, nothing is possible. So once you earn your first million, then you are the person who can earn a lot of money. And the second million it's never easy. Never easy, but it's easier. The first million is really hard. The second million, not so much. So I found that there were 21 secrets. The first one of all is dream big dreams. I couldn't believe it. Every single person who finally made it said the turning point in their life, they were driving down the road of life, not making much progress, which is that 80-20 rule that you hear. 80% of people make 20% of the money, and 20% of the people make 80% of the money. And what happens at a certain point in life, they change and go on a different road. And here's the turning point. It is make a decision. Make a decision that I'm going to become wealthy. I'm going to become a millionaire. And I will work hard, long hours. I will sacrifice. I will pay the price. I will do everything that is necessary because you have a millionaire maker organization right here. The sole focus of this job is many wonderful benefits for users of the product, but the sole focus of this is for you to become wealthy by becoming successful so that you can do all the wonderful things that you want to do for yourself and your family. So make a decision that by gum, I'm going to do it. And I realized at the age of 36 that I'd wished and hoped and prayed, but I never made a decision. I thought, oh yeah, maybe someday it'll happen. Maybe there'll be a miracle on something. So I bought penny stocks or mining stocks, and I did all kinds of stuff, and not a darn thing happened. And then I found that the two things that millionaires say, number one is I was not more talented or smarter. I didn't get better grades than other people. He said, but I was willing to work harder than anyone else. I was willing to work harder than anyone else. I was willing to work harder, start earlier, work harder, stay later than anyone else. And you know, self-made millionaires on average work about 59 hours a week. They work about 6 days a week at 10 hours a day, or 7 or 5 days a week at 12 hours. There are very few wealthy people who work 5 days a week. In fact, there probably aren't any. They may work 5 days a week, but it's way after they've achieved their financial goals. The second thing they found is that they were frugal. They earned the money, but they didn't spend it all. They saved the money. Because there's a time in your life where you can be generous. You can buy things, you can take trips, you can get new cars and new homes and a home in the mountains and so on, but not early. I had a banker once who was very helpful to me, and I still remember, his name was Alan. He said, we do banking for owners of small, medium-sized businesses, and we can always tell when the business is going to get into trouble. The owner of the business decides to take all his money and build a new house. He said, you can always tell because it's too soon. They spend their money too soon. If they waited another 5 years, they could have bought or built a house without a problem. But what they do is they start to get some progress and they start to go a little bit wild. So your job is to become a self-made millionaire, and LifeVantage's job is to help you get there, and my job is to tell you what to do. I'm going to show you the recipes and the formulas that you can use. And sometimes it just takes one choice. And remember, 87% of millionaires and billionaires are self-made. They started with nothing. And nobody's smarter than you, and nobody's better than you. Nobody's smarter than you, nobody's better than you. If somebody else can do it, especially with all the disadvantages that many people start off with, if someone else can do it, you can do it as well. That's the proof. Abraham Lincoln once said that some become wealthy is proof that all can become wealthy. It's just the very fact that a person does well, it's proof. They started with nothing and they became wealthy. Well, there's the proof. You can do it as well. Just do the same things over and over again. So I wanted to share with you what I call the 7 C's. And I began putting together formulas And my formulas are 3s, 7s, 10s, 12s, and 21s. I wrote 22 books, which had 21 great ideas to achieve this particular goal. 21 great ideas to double your income, 21 great ideas to live to be 100, 21 great ideas to be an outstanding manager, 21 great ideas to meet and marry the man or woman of your dreams. That's very popular. And I just did hundreds and hundreds of hours of research and wrote down all these one-liners. And people said just one-liner out of 21 changed their lives forever. So I'm very, very hungry. I spent about 150,000 hours studying. I study all the time. Yesterday on my way up here from San Diego. My son lives in Las Vegas. I probably read 3.5 hours, plus 2 hours before leaving, and I'll do another 4 hours of reading today, as I just constantly taking in new information. Because one idea combined with your other ideas and with your opportunity here can transform your life forever. Yeah. And you just have to say, is this the idea? Is this the idea? So the first C is the C of clarity. Clarity is my favorite word in success. It's my favorite word in business. I have done consulting for more than 1,000 corporations, large companies worldwide, companies like IBM and General Motors and PepsiCo and Bank of America. I mean, big companies. And I've also worked with more than 10,000 small and medium-sized companies. And what I found is in every single situation, problems occur when the company becomes unclear about what it is they're doing or how it is they're doing it. And so I've developed a program, which is really just a fun program for me intellectually. It's called the 2-Day MBA. And it shows 10 different factors of a company. And these are the ones that I learned when I went to university, back to university in my 30s. And I find that all problems come from lack of clarity. What is your product? It's the first question you ask. Who is your customer? What does your customer consider to be more valuable than anything else? How are you superior to your competitors? What can you do to attract more customers? What can you do to close those customers? I'll come to this in a second, but basically it's clarity, lack of clarity. Now here's something else I learned, and they did a study of 50 owners of companies, successful owners of companies like yourselves. And they asked them, what is the very best time management or business tool that you've ever discovered? 49 out of the 50 held up a yellow writing pad. Yellow writing pad, sort of like this. And this is what they did. This is how they planned their day. They made a list, to-do list. Today, today's date, they wrote down everything they had to do. They always work from a list. Always work from a list. Always work from a list. If you don't work from a list, it's very much like taking your hands off the wheel of your car, going down a winding road in the mountains. What happens is your life's going to go up and you're instantly going to start doing irrelevant and unimportant and useless things. And at the end of the day, you'll be exhausted and you'll have accomplished nothing. Now, I know this doesn't apply to anybody here, but it does happen. And so therefore, clarity is really important. We say in life that in life you have turning points. And I've written and published now 86 books because I developed a formula for writing and publishing books. I have contracts for 4 more books, and I have 2 more books on top of the contracts. I haven't had time to get to it because my legs have sort of distracted me for a while, but I have book after book. Most authors, professional authors, write 1 book every 2 or 3 years. And I write and publish as many as 4 books a year. Every 90 days, I write a book. And I publish it, and I'm now published, I'm happy to say, by the biggest publishers and the best publishers in the world. And people say, I'm going to write a book and become rich. You don't write a book and become rich. You write several books. And you become well off. Because 1 book will get people's attention. 2 books will prove that the first one wasn't a fluke. 3 will very often be the book that actually earns you some money, and then 4 and 5 and 6. So people say, well, how can you write so many books? And I said, well, I have a system. I use a system like a recipe in the kitchen. And I follow the recipe. And the system requires clarity. What is the book about? Who is the book for? What are the subjects in the book that are not covered somewhere else? What is the system and methodology and process? And I don't write fiction books. I only write nonfiction, which are basically do this and get this result. And then I will do hundreds of hours and hundreds of hours. So anyway, going back to my 2-day MBA, what I found was that the number one reason why businesses are not successful, we're not talking about Fortune 500 companies, we're talking about one-person companies, is that just they're not clear about their business. They're not clear about every step of the business because they don't think on paper. Think on paper. The most powerful tool in the world is you, a pen, and a piece of paper. This is the greatest wealth creator in the world. And so you never pick up the phone. You never answer the phone without something to write down. You make notes all the time. Make notes. Now you can actually capture all your notes on your phone. But what I found is that if you write it down, it records into your brain, and your chances are you'll remember it. I found that if your goals are not in writing, and one of the things I taught, and I've taught more than 5 million people, is write your goals down on paper and write them down in the present tense as though you had already achieved them. I earn X number of dollars in 2019. I am a self-made millionaire by January 1st, 2025. I weigh X number of pounds. I live in a 5,000 square foot house with a separate bedroom for each one of my children. In other words, write it down as though it were already a fact, and you're just reporting it. You're just reporting the fact. Your subconscious mind is marvelous, but what it does is it only thrives on goals that you pronounce in the now, in the present tense. And so you now have a dynamism. It's called I'll think of the word, but it's a dynamism in your brain where your brain knows that you're only earning this amount of money, but now you're saying, but I earn this amount of money. Your brain knows that you're not a millionaire, but now you're saying, I am a millionaire. And so your brain goes to work to close this gap between where you are and where you want to be. And your brain starts to work 24 hours a day. And it works, and it gives you ideas. Each person here has what is called the superconscious mind. And this mind has been talked about for 5,000 years, and some call it the oversoul, and some people call it the God mind. Some people call it God, spirit, whatever it happens to be. But there's this incredible power in the universe that you can tap into. You could just reach into it by simply writing down a goal clearly on a piece of paper, and then this mind goes to work 24 hours a day to bring it into your life. You all read the books about the law of attraction and so on. Well, the fact is that once you are clear on a goal and you write it down, not type it, but write it down, is you force this energy field of attraction, and it starts to pull into your life everything that you need to make the goal clear. But if it's not in writing, not a darn thing happens. And so I'm going to ask you, I sometimes ask people, say, please, just do one thing for me, is write down your goals. After this seminar, follow the instructions. I will give you an instruction. And by the way, we made available my goal setting formula online for everybody here. So everybody can go online to LifeVantage and get it. And because it will save you 10 to 20 years of hard work. Your life will transform. It's almost like taking some magic elixir. Your whole life will be different. So anyway, what you do is, I said in life, every person has a turning point, and the turning point comes when you set upon a major goal. When you decide upon a major goal, and since you're going to be working for money in business all your life, you might as well set a goal to earn a lot of money. You see, in life, you can earn a lot or you can earn a little. And if you have a choice, I recommend to you that you choose a lot, okay? Because if you don't choose a lot, by default, you automatically get a little. And this 80% of the population out there is wandering around and complaining about successful people, wah, 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 life's not fair, and so on. No, because once you are clear about your goal, you start to see all kinds of opportunities, things that you can do that you hadn't thought of doing, that move you faster toward the goal and move the goal toward you. You activate this field of magnetism and you start to attract into your life people and circumstances who help you to achieve the goal, and you help to achieve their goals. I mean, it's the most amazing thing. And it is true, and it has been true for thousands of years, and it is the great secret of success. So let us talk about the 7 C's. And I could spend all day on these. But number 1 C is clarity, is being absolutely clear who you are, which means what you want in life, what kind of a person you are, what you believe in, what's important to you, what you care about. You'll never be successful unless you're doing something that you enjoy and doing it well. Napoleon Hill threw this contribution onto the table in 1936. He said, do something that you love and do it well, and you'll never work another day for the rest of your life. You just never work again because you can hardly wait to get to work. You can hardly wait to do it because you love it. A turning point in my life, and I'm trying to give you a lot of stuff in the time that we have, a turning point in my life took place in about 1987, and I attended a seminar, and the speaker at the seminar talked about the importance of self-esteem. And what he said is your self-esteem is defined as how much you like yourself. And the more you like yourself, the more you like other people. And the more you like yourself, the more confidence you have, and the more willing you are to try different things. And the more you like yourself, the less afraid you are of making mistakes. So you're willing to take chances with the possibility that you won't be successful. The more you like yourself. And the way that you build up your self-esteem is you simply say, I like myself. I like myself. I like myself. Say it. Say it. I like myself. No. Don't suck your thumbs. Say it. Say, I like myself. Yeah. Wonderful. And the most powerful thing that you can do in this business is to help other people like themselves. And how do you help other people like themselves? You treat them well. You practice the golden rule. You treat them the way you would like other people to treat you. And so they feel valuable and important. And they want to be around you. And they want to accept your guidance. And they want to do what you instruct them to do. And they want to become successful as well. And so the more you like yourself, the more you like others. And the more you like others, the more they like you right back. And it becomes a positive upward spiral that makes you happy.